Welcome back, everybody, to the Blazer Victory Podcast, episode number 71. John Duncan here, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Steve Irvine. And Saturday was so tough, losing to North Texas at a last-second three-pointer by Tyler Perry. But we'll get into that in a minute. Before we get started, guys, I just want to let everybody know that a buddy of mine, Brad Cummings, actually started a website called the Southside Dragon Report, which helps cover UAB and has already had a bunch of good pieces on there by Brad. And I actually might have one on there probably at the time you guys are listening to this podcast. I'll have my first post on there. So I will be contributing every once in a while, but mainly Brad is doing most of the stuff on there since it's his website. But this is just another great resource for UAB fans to just, look at and keep track of the team. And, going back to the old days of, you guys might remember UAB Blazer blogging that Drew Champlin did, and going back to the Daily Dragon with Dave West. Brad, has been wanting to do this for a while, and I'm just so proud of him for doing that. But if you guys get a second, go to SouthsideDragonRPT.com and check it out. And I'll also put a link in the episode description to where you guys can just click on that and go look at Brad's work and some of my work. But Steve, what exactly happened against North Texas Saturday? I mean, is it honestly one of those things where you just have to kind of just tip your hat to North Texas and especially Tyler Perry for knocking that shot over 7-foot Trey Jemison at the end to win the game?
Well, yeah, I mean, absolutely. You have to tip your cap to them to keep playing and that was a great shot. I mean, there's no doubt too. I mean, and really the effort of the play, the possession before where he had another three where it was after an offensive rebound that that just the effort play, there was a lot of those type of things in the second half where they just got those second chances because of hustle. And so, yeah, I mean, you got to tip your cap. I mean, there's no doubt about that, but you also got to look in the mirror, and talk about free throws, talk about, just a lot of different things that could have and should have made the difference. And where that shot could have cut it to, 2 or cut it to 1 or whatever, and then you just run out the time. I mean, so yeah, I mean, no doubt you give them credit. I mean, there's you're crazy if you don't, and you're wrong if you don't, because they made the plays to win the game. But in a lot of senses, in a lot of ways, UAB made plays to lose the game. So so you got to do a little bit of both. I mean, bottom line is North Texas won the game, and they're going to win the conference and the division, and really the best team in the conference, and give them credit for that. I mean, but you've got to learn from it, and get better from it, and admit that the problems that led to that, because I mean, I don't think there's any doubt, and you got to be, you got to have your head in the sand, or you're not being honest to admit that UAB should have won that basketball game. They should have. It was right there for them. So, so there's a lot of that too. But as just a basketball fan, boy, it was fun to watch Tyler Perry play. I mean, obviously he rips your heart out, but he had a heck of a game, and he's a heck of a player, and he's your conference MVP right now. I mean, I think.
And we were talking about that right after the game. Like, you have to give it to him, man. That's 2 clutch shots that he's, game-winning shots over UAB and Louisiana Tech now, and just always seems to, if it comes down to the line, they get him the ball, and somehow he's able to deliver. So you really got to give him that, Conference USA Player of the Year talk right now.
At this point, yeah. I mean, at this point, I mean, it's one of those things where, for a long time, you thought it was going to be Lofton, and then Jelly Walker was the guy, and in my all this is my opinion. I mean, everybody's got their opinion, and then now it's Tyler Perry. So and we still got a little bit left to go. So so that could change. I don't know if it will, but it certainly could. But right now, he's the guy, and they're the team. I mean, give them a lot of credit. they when they needed to do it, they did it, and so give them a lot of credit. I do think that you can't lose sight that UAB did a lot of good things
Yeah.
on on Saturday and really last week. You know, the Rice game too. I mean, they did a lot of good things. You can't lose sight of that. You can't let a loss and let the bad things that they did totally outweigh what they did
Right.
good. I thought they battled both games. Saturdays, I thought they battled and played hard and I really thought defensively in the first half really played well defensively in the first half. I think the second half was, I think they played well defensively in the second half, but I think that what North Texas, early in the second half, I think what they did was they tried to establish their big guy, and I think he kind of changed things, changed the complexion a little bit offensively
Mm-hmm.
by making some plays early in the second half, and I thought that changed the way changed the complexion for them, because hey, don't forget they led most of the second half. I mean
Yeah.
they kind of had a little control there for a long while. But and again, and give UAB credit for getting back on top there. And I mean, it's frustrating. I mean, I walked out there and I had to drag my son out of there because he was throwing a fit because they lost.
Mm-hmm.
I told him, I said, man, this is the same feeling I had walking out of San Antonio.
Ah, yep.
I mean, same feeling now. Obviously different things at stake a little bit, but that's kind of the same feeling I felt. It gets you deep in the gut, but both times ultimately you have to tip your cap to the other team and move on.
You do, and again, UAB loses 58-57 at home to North Texas Saturday afternoon. And really, though, too, it's just a story of missed opportunities for UAB. You mentioned the free throw shooting earlier, Steve. Going 14 of 23, just 60% from the free throw line at home. I mean that right there is you probably don't go 23 or 23, but if you just get two of those, then
Right.
that's a different story. And yes, the team, UAB was down by I believe it was at least 7 in the second half, but they were able to battle back and take the lead with under a couple minutes left. And I know there's a lot of shoulda, coulda. You go listening to post game and I believe Coach Kennedy even said, he regretted not calling a timeout there and changing out a couple players to go smaller to defend. But I, I mean, even on that last shot, like Trey Jemison was guarding Tyler Perry pretty well. And I mean, to hit it over a 7-foot guy like that, fading away, stepping back, I mean, you just got to tip your hat, to Tyler Perry. And I don't know. And you look at the stat sheet, going 311 from 3 point, 27%, not great. And I guess we can go ahead and get into it too. Like at times, Steve, and this is going to be kind of hard to say, but at times it honestly feels like the team just UAB just doesn't play well as a team in stretches, which is, we talked a little bit about it after. Like you can just see the body language of, some of the teammates going after each other, like Jelly, and maybe Jelly trying to do too much, which he has done a lot for this team. But there's sometimes when they're doubling you, that's another guy open that you've got to take
Yeah.
advantage of. And that's one thing though that I thought UAB did a great job with Thursday night against Rice. Getting it to Quan, letting him go off for 21 points, and just taking advantage of that. But Saturday it was just a lot of going back and forth, and you could see that on the court.
Yeah, and I mean that kind of goes back to what I was talking about, the sort of the transfer portal world, that
Yep.
we have now. I mean, these are teams that a lot of these teams, and UAB is one of them. Is this is a group that haven't been together that long. I mean, this
Right.
is you're talking about 20 whatever it is, 27 games, 23 games, 26, whatever it is, 27 games.
Yeah, 27. Yeah.
Yeah, that they've been together, and North Texas is, as a comparison, is a group that's been together 2-3 years or whatever it be. The core of them certainly have been there for a while, and that 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 can make a difference. I mean, I'm not saying that. I don't know for sure if it is, because we're not behind the scene. One thing that we've all been around this a long time. We all know that there's emotions during the game, and teammates are gonna argue, and motivate and whatever. But yeah, I mean, there seemed to be a lot of that Saturday, and there seemed to be a lot of it during the year. And
Yeah.
what we don't know, we're not there, we're not behind the scenes, so we don't know for sure. But it sure seems that way, from the outside, looking in from the outside. Um, and I do think that Jelly has been so good, at scoring the basketball and that type of thing, that there's times, that the time late in the game there where he took the contested layup when they should have run some clock.
Yeah.
You know, uh, and he's, in one sense, you love it when a guy is that confident in his ability, and to make that play, because he's made that play. I mean, he's made that play over and over, and he's proven to make that play. But at that time, he didn't need to be doing that. And I think there's it's just tough. That was the great thing about the Rice game. I mean, he's
Hmm.
got 12 assists, and you go down that box score, and I mean, Quan had what, 9 buckets, or I think it was, and I think Buffin maybe had 8 buckets, and
Yeah.
and just out of the list. I mean, I thought Ertl shot the ball well, and just things like that. That's when you're at your best. When all these guys are contributing. You know, Jelly had 12 assists. That's huge. Then Saturday there wasn't as much that. Now they're playing a lot better defense Saturday than they were against
Yeah.
Rice. So
Yeah.
a lot of that is a lot of Quan only getting 1 bucket, and KJ Buffett only getting 2 buckets, or because they're playing against better defenders, and better coaches, and they're doing a better job of taking that part away from it. But I think that Jelly in both games, he scored 5 points early, and really started pressing after that. Now the difference was, in the Rice game, he was able to get the ball to other guys to score. Where in the North Texas game, I thought there was too many times where he just took bad shots. I mean, just flat, and hell, a lot of that too. Now, don't forget,
It's North Texas. Yeah.
well, North Texas, and also some people have to finish. I mean,
Yeah.
so like there was one time in the second half where he made that great pass to Trey Jemison, and Trey Jemison missed a dunk.
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, it was a great pass. Maybe his best pass, certainly the best pass of the game,
Yeah.
and probably one of his best passes in a while. And and he misses a dunk, and so so it wasn't just him being greedy. I mean, or trying to do too much. I mean, I think it was a little bit of everything. And
Hmm.
and hey, let's face it, one play doesn't beat you, but you lose by one and you miss a dunk. That's 2 points right there.
That
So
is.
I think there's a lot of little things that happened in that game that ended up. It's easy to magnify what happens at the end,
Hmm.
but I think there was just a lot of points in that game. Missing 2 free throws on a technical foul.
And that's just so
Uh,
unlike. Yeah, he ended up going one to
yeah,
four from the line, and I mean, this is what, an 80%, 90% free throw line shooter, and I just
yeah. I mean,
but didn't have a good day, I guess.
yeah, I mean, and it happens to everybody. I mean,
Yeah.
it happens to everybody. Everybody has, struggling days, and you got to get better from it. But it was, again, there was a lot of positives, and you can't lose sight of that, even though a lot of people try to lose sight of that. And, I
Hmm.
thought the defense was, for the most part, magnificent. I do think there was a couple things that shake your head a little bit, without kind of knowing what they do. But why was Quan Jackson? Why did he not get an opportunity to try to cover Tyler Perry?
Yeah.
Particularly late. I mean, I would have loved to see his length and athleticism, on that last possession on him, instead of a switch, switch where you end up with Jimson. Even though Jimson's 7 foot, you got to shoot over him. he
Yeah.
still doesn't have the quickness that Laquan does. So you know you just got to wonder why. Now, again, it's easy to sit here and go, "Oh, why didn't you do this?" Well,
Yeah.
it's easy to do that. But I wouldn't have minded to try to see that, because I think I thought Quan played really well defensively,
Yeah.
and he had 10 rebounds. Um, I think he had 3 steals. He had 3 assists. I mean, I thought he didn't score the ball, but I thought he played real well defensively, and I thought UAB's length really hurt North Texas in the first half, particularly.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they, when they had a trap, KJ was causing problems, around midcourt, and I thought it hurt them. Now I think that when they started going, and I think obviously North Texas saw that, and when they established that they could go inside to the big guy, that changed a little of that, I think. But uh, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of ways. There's a lot of little nitpicky things, and and there's a lot of things that we try to act like we know as much as the coaching staff, and we don't. I mean, we don't. But so a lot of my what ifs might have an answer if I knew as much as the coaches.
Yeah. And I mean, I said this on Twitter, right after the game that, hey, let's do it a third time, man. I mean, both of these games, we beat them in Denton at the pit earlier in the year, and hey, they beat us by 1 point in Bartow. So hey, let's do it in Frisco for all the marbles, as they say. With the attorney bid on the line. Let's do it again one more time and see who comes out on top.
Yeah, and frankly, I totally agree. You got to get there, obviously, and you got
Yeah, that's the
you got to
thing.
take care of business. But I like UAB's chances in that game. I
Me
mean,
too.
I don't. I mean, I think that North Texas has certainly shown themselves to be more consistent during conference play. I mean, no doubt. But I don't think they're necessarily a better team than UAB. I don't think UAB is a better team than North Texas. I think they're very evenly matched when they're on the same court. I think that obviously, the overall consistency again is the difference in the seasons, or at least the conference seasons.
Right.
But I mean, hey, I like their chances. And that's the other thing that was kind of funny to me, that you know some of the people I heard about the game the other day, we kind of acting like that was the only time they played this year. Well, UAB did the same. Like you said, they beat them on their home court. So
Beat them
it's
3 times in a row. But going back to
yeah,
last year, a lot of these guys were still from this year's North Texas team. Were on that team last year, and UAB beat them twice back-to-back days at the pit last year. So UAB was on a 3-game win streak over North Texas.
yeah. So so I think they're very evenly matched. Now, again, because of the consistency of this thing,
Mm-hmm.
you feel like, at least this point, you feel like North Texas has a better chance of getting to that point because the consistency.
Right.
But who knows what's going to happen in Frisco? I mean, who knows? I mean, what UAB has to do now is regroup, figure out some things that are going on, or that went on Saturday, and fix them, get them better, shore them up. Win these games. Got to
Mm-hmm.
beat. Really need to win out. And
Yeah.
if you win out, you get that second place in the West, and you get you only got to win 3 games to win
Mm-hmm.
this thing, and that's a big difference, and so big difference for a lot of things. Big difference in the amount of games you play and the toughness of it, but also a big difference in just the confidence you take in that tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's important too. To take some confidence in the tournament. So got to take care of this week, and certainly got to eventually beat Louisiana Tech, and which is going to be a tough one. And but right now you got to take care of this week and take care of UTSA first, and win a couple on the road. Hey, UTEP's not going to be easy to beat on the road now.
No,
I
they
mean,
just beat Louisiana Tech at Louisiana Tech, so they're
yeah,
definitely capable of, and we fought them hard. Yeah, we won by double digits in Bartow earlier, but we'll get into them in a minute. But they got 2 guards that are playing extremely well right now that can give UAB some fits if we're not careful.
yeah. I mean, so you got absolutely. So you got to do that. You got to take care of things, and you got to shake that game off. As hard as it is, I mean, it's hard to get past something like that. But you got to regroup and see what happens. Just see what happens down the road. But sure would be
Definitely.
a lot nicer to be talking about, a win.
So close, so
Yeah,
close.
yeah. So, but hey, again, give them credit. North Texas I mean, I really enjoy watching them play just because, I mean, they're frustrating to play because they do such a great
So
job.
slow. Yeah,
Oh God, and just do a great job of just running that clock down and not getting outside themselves. Just really, and just play the heck out of the defense. And so they're fun to watch, but they're frustrating to watch. At the same time. But
Yes, but I mean, but and we've given them a lot of credit too. But right now, at this point, when you look at the two top teams in Conference USA, which I think we both agree is North Texas and UAB, North Texas as a team, they know who they are. Play good defense, work that clock on offense, find Perry or McBride somewhere, and they're going to come in clutch most of the time. UAB, yes, we're still a very scrappy team. We play really good defense, but we're still trying to find ourselves, and that's okay because we still got 2 weeks, before we head to Frisco. But as you mentioned earlier, these last 4 games, 3 out of those 4 are on the road. So UAB's got to hurry up
yeah,
and find themselves quick. And like you said, really, we need to win out. At the worst coming up, we need a split. Now I will tell you, normally on these road trips when we play 2 on the road, normally that second game always gets us because normally that first game of the 2 is against the better opponent. So I kind of like it this way where you get UTSA first and then head into El Paso Saturday night to take on UTEP, which is the way better team than UTSA because UTSA is struggling mightily right
right.
now. So hey, maybe AK we can regroup here, say, hey, second place in the West, still on the line. We're tied with Louisiana Tech at 10-4 right now, but we do have the tiebreaker over them. So if we can win out and especially get Tech on that last game of the regular season and a couple Saturdays coming up, we should be able to hopefully lock up that second place in the West and get that bye into the quarterfinals in the Conference USA tournament.
Yeah, and that's and I mean the only I guess positive thing about a tough loss like Saturday is it does slap you in the face,
Yeah,
and
get it out the way too.
yeah, it focuses you. You get focused on the next one because you don't want to go through that again. So
Mm-hmm.
in one sense, that's I guess one positive that you can take out of it, even though it's really hard to take any positive out of losing a big game, like certainly an important game like that. So we'll see. And I do think that I mean hopefully they've got to find a way to keep Taven Lovin more involved
Yes.
offensively. He's too good. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
honestly, I mean, really, talent wise, he's your best player of that team, and he's the most proven, and certainly, I mean, at UAB he's the most proven, and you got to find a way to get him, more shots and to get him
And real quick
more
on
involved.
that, Steve, I do like what what Andy Kennedy did just this past week. He has Lovin coming off of the bench, and let Ertl start. I actually really love that because I think with Lovin coming off of the bench, coming a little more energized and ready, and he scored 10. Let me see, he scored 10 against North Texas. And Bryce, let me see how many. Oh no, he had 12
He
against North
had 12
Texas.
against North Texas. Yeah,
Okay, and I know he had double digits against Rice, but I thought that worked really well to kind of just shake things up a little bit. So I hope that Kennedy does that going forward too, because I do like loving coming off of the bench more. And it's not as big of a deal to be a starter as it used to be in the past because hell, look at North Texas. Tyler
yeah,
Perry comes off the bench every game and is a consistent performer on that team. So I did want to just bring that up real quick that I did like the lineup change on bringing Lovin off the bench into because he does bring a lot of energy and I agree with you, Steve. I think that he is one of our best players on this team. But again, Saturday I saw him open a few times when they had 2 guys on jelly, and we've just got to
right.
find a way to make the opposing team suffer for doing that to Jelly. Like, if there's two guys on Jelly, somebody else is open. So you got to hurry up and get the ball to him as quick as possible. And you've also got to do a good job if you're Loving on, cutting to the basket, which he has proven he can do. KJ can cut to the basket. We've just got to see it more often.
Yeah, and I think kind of the Rice game is sort of a blueprint of that.
Yes.
You had so many guys involved, and and that's kind of what you need moving forward. That's what you need. I mean, it's wonderful. It's kind of like back when Vaden's junior year. I mean, it's wonderful to be able to rely on a guy that can turn into Superman and sometimes and win games for you, but you've got to really guard against a being reliant on that and kind of stopping and watching him play, and B having him be reliant on that and thinking he can do that instead of it be a team game.
Right.
And I think that's just hard. That's a hard thing to do for everybody. I mean, when you have somebody that can do that, it's hard, but you're not going to win championships like that. I mean, there's not many cases. There's been cases, but overall, you're not going to win championships like that. So you've got to you've got to be. It's a team game, and if two guys are on you, like you say, you got to know that there's somebody open. And I haven't gone back to look at the last scramble play there at the end where he shot from half court, but I wonder if there was somebody down the court that he could have thrown the ball to instead of dribble it up, just little things like that. I'm not saying it was or what, because I don't know.
Yeah,
but
it was tough.
Yeah, and you're just in a scramble mode at that point. But there's opportunities like that you can learn from.
Yeah.
Maybe you can go back and look at it, go, hey, maybe you could have got the ball here, and that type of thing. So learn from it, and again, this is a team game, and as great as he's been, and as great as any score has been. I mean, Tyler Perry's the same way.
Yeah.
I mean, he shot him to that win on Saturday. Well, he's got to make sure on Thursday, whoever they play next, that he doesn't feel like he's the only guy on the court.
Right. And real quick, like you talk about being playing well as a team. I think North Texas is the best example of that. They've won the conference 2 years in a row, and they really don't have I mean, I know Tyler Perry scored a lot, but you look at that, they just spread the ball around, play great defense, and UAB has proven time and time again that we can play good defense as well. We just got to figure out how to play better as a whole, as a team.
Right. No doubt. I mean, there's no doubt. And I mean, and you talk about it too, but when we talk about, I mean, Jelly is still, I mean, he does a good job of getting the ball to guys.
He has great assists every game.
Yeah, he's still one of the top assist guys in the conference, and coming off a game where he did 12. So, this team's capable of doing that, and it just it didn't work out on Saturday, and I mean, I sure hope that we're able to see them win out and beat North Texas in the championship game, and then we're not talking about this game anymore. We're talking about that game,
Definitely.
But there's a long time to get to that point, and I think the bottom line is this team's capable.
Definitely.
I mean, they're proven capable, so we just got to go out and do it, and start being consistent and getting everybody involved, and they're doing that, and I think I think this is a darn good coaching staff, and I think it's one of the better coaching staffs in the conference, and so let them coach and let them do their job, and let's see what happens.
Definitely. And again, UAB gets the win Thursday night against Rice, 92-68, and falls to North Texas 58-57 on Saturday. Steve, how about the atmosphere in Bartow? Over 4,700 people. It really, it felt like Bartow was coming alive for the first time in a few years. It was great to, be a part of that. And I just hope, that we can build upon that. Yeah, we lost the game, but just talk a little bit about, your experience, because I know you were, in Bartow as well. Like, did it feel kind of maybe not as quiet like the old days, but it felt like it was getting there. It was
Yeah.
loud, and it was a good sight to see. And I just hope, the fans continue to come, because I know, we've got one more home game at the end of the season. But just talk a little bit about the atmosphere of Bartow Saturday.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I mean, it did. It kind of reminded you of some of the better times, And I wasn't around during the early years when it was really great atmosphere. But it felt good. It felt good to be back in there with that kind of, the noise was good. The just the attitude of the crowd was good. I thought it played a role. I mean, I did. And it was great. It was fun to be there. I will say this. There was, I do wish that there was a little better in game. I don't even know how to put it. Here's an example. When UAB took their first lead in the second half. I don't remember who scored, but it took the lead and they called a timeout immediately. The place is going crazy after the score. It's loud. Everything's happy, and then they go to the timeout, and then everything just stops.
Yeah.
And they do a couple announcements about the next game and this type of whatever. That place needs to be jumping the whole time out.
Yeah, I
I mean,
agree.
you turn on some loud music, you turn on something that gets people jumping, and that people, you need to be sitting in that huddle and having a hard time hearing what's being said.
Hey, I
Yeah.
bet you they did that at the Alamo Dome.
Oh, absolutely, and the better places, and even back in the day with UAB,
Yeah.
they'd be jumping during those timeouts, man. I mean, that's when you have that, you have this probably the best momentum crowd wise of the whole game at that point, and it'd been great the whole game, and then it just make an announcement about the next game.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there needs to be find a way to keep that excitement going all the way through, because I think that's where that's where the momentum comes from, because you have all this great momentum, and crowd wise you're into it, and then it just stops, and you go through with your timeout. I mean, that's why they call a timeout. That's why the opposing team calls a timeout, because it's so crazy. But don't let them do that.
Yeah.
I mean, don't let them just the whole time out. You want that you want McCaslin over there just screaming and them not being able to hear him. I mean, that's to me, that's what home court's all about. And so there was a little bit of that. And but I do think that I thought the crowd was tremendous. I hope it. I thought the student section was good.
Yes.
I hope that continues. And I mean, there's only one home game left. But hopefully there's coming off 3 straight road wins, and there's that momentum, and they're playing a huge game against Louisiana Tech that is going to mean a lot. And let's get another big crowd out there, bigger. Let's get a bigger crowd out there, and and win the game. Help win the game, because I really thought the crowd made a difference on Saturday, and need to keep that up. But yeah, it was fun. I mean, it was a great atmosphere to be in, and just got to keep that up.
Definitely. Now, real quick, we're not going to spend a lot of time, because I know we're, about 33 minutes into this episode now, but UAB does have 2 games coming up this week. Thursday night in San Antonio against the UTSA Roadrunners. That game will be a 7:00 p.m. Central Time tip-off, and it will be televised on ESPN Plus. And then Saturday, it's a late tip, Saturday night in El Paso. Will also be televised on ESPN Plus as our Blazers travel down to El Paso to take on the UTEP Miners. Just real quick, just some things to look for in both of those games. Really, in the UTSA game, I mean, this is a struggling team. I mean, they're 2-13 in Conference USA this year, 9-19 overall. Really, the main guy that UAB is going to have to focus on is their 6'11" center, Jacob Germany, who, he did kind of make UAB pay in the first matchup. I believe, he went off for 26 points against the Blazers in Bartow. But UAB did win that matchup 87-59 comfortably. But that's just, something to look for where, Trey and, KJ, the guys down, and Ranji Gordon, those guys down low are going to have to kind of contain Germany, because really that is how UTSA operates on the offensive side. Kind of packing it into him and getting it down low. So hopefully UAB, have learned from last time against him and can just kind of put UTSA away early in that ball game. Now going to Saturday's matchup with the UTEP Niners, not Miners, UTEP Miners,
yeah.
not the Niners. You almost said 49ers. But looking at UTEP, they've got two really good guards. Sule Boom and Jamal Bieniemy. Boom. I mean, he went off just a few games ago for 32 against Marshall, 28 at Louisiana Tech. So this guy can definitely play. We faced him earlier, and he had 20 points in the game in Bartow, where UAB, did win by double digits. But kind of for UAB fans, just to kind of focus on those two guys. And UTEP is always a tough place to play. UTEP's playing better ball than, they were the first time UAB faced them in the season. Now they're playing good ball right now, coming in at 9-5. They've got an important game against Middle Tennessee tonight, Monday night. Hopefully the Blue Raiders can take care of UTEP and, kind of push them back to 9-6. But two very, important games for UAB, Steve, both on the road, and we've said at times, UAB has struggled on the road. But man, I would love it if we can come out of this 2-0 and get both of those wins.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge week. I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think, you got to take care of business first, and, you face obviously a struggling team right now, but, Marshall had lost 10 in a row, when you go in there and lose. Old Dominion is struggling. Go in there and lose.
Yeah.
So you can't let you can't let that. You can't look at the records. You can't look at struggles. You just got to go in and get prepared and do what you need to do to win the game. And then that thing that thing Saturday is UTEP, like you said, it's a tough place to play. And I think that I haven't looked at their crowds, but I would imagine that with the way they're playing, there's probably a little more excitement coming back in there, because I know that I mean they don't draw that well when they're struggling like everybody else. But I think when they do draw, it's a tough play. I mean, I've been there a bunch of times, and it's a loud, nasty place when it's full, and you get a lot of I guess celebratory stuff before the game, that the fellas that sit right behind the bench that are tough. I mean, it was I had some good times sitting right there next to the UAB bench and listening to those guys talk to Mike Davis, and Mike Davis talking back to him. But it's a tough place, and it's a place. So that's but if you can come out of this thing with 2 wins this week and get that confidence back, and I don't know if the confidence is gone, but I mean certainly get some momentum back, and but you got to take those one at a time and just take care of UTSA first.
Definitely. Well, all right, guys. As always, if you're not subscribed to the podcast, please make sure that you are following or subscribed to our podcast, whether that's on Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever. And also, if you're not following us on Twitter, definitely give us a follow at twitter.com/BlazerPod or at BlazerPod. And we'll be back next week to recap what happens on the road in the UTSA game and UTEP game. But as always, guys, go Blazers.